Joining me now is NewsNation Chief Washington anchor Leland Vittert, host of On Balance with Leland Vittert. Leland, I don't know about you, but when this news broke yesterday, I did a double take of the TV. I mean, I haven't thought of pagers since the 90s. You lived in the Middle East. You've reported from war zones. Were you surprised by this?
I was surprised when it happened. I think it harkens back to something that a very senior member of the Israeli security apparatus once said to me with a smile when I asked him about a similarly ingenious way of attacking a different group of terrorists and if Israel was responsible. And he looked at me with a smile and he said, well, bad things happen to bad people. And that's the refrain from Israel. There's a couple of things here. One, the chaos this sows inside Hezbollah's ranks and the paranoia that it creates is ingenious. So this is as much of a psychological operation as it was an actual military and what do we call it, kinetic operation of the exploding pagers. Two, we say 3,000 people. Almost all of those are terrorists inside the Hezbollah organization. So the fact that Israel was able to take that many people off the battlefield without any kind of civilian casualties or very minimal civilian casualties is absolutely remarkable. Third, I thought Tom pointed out very smartly that the U.S. did not get a heads up. And that shows the enormous distrust right now between the United States and Israel and how Israel really views it itself as on its own. They call it blue and white. But the fact that they would launch this operation and other operations without talking to D.C. Really speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm also curious, to your point of physical harm, was also part of it not only physical harm, crippling, comm systems, there and for these militants, but was it also partly about outing these people? If you didn't know who were terrorists before, now you do.
It's an excellent point. Certainly in their communities, they do. Israel probably now has a better idea. And was listening from their signals intelligence and seeing who was showing up in hospitals and the like. It was really remarkable. I think is why it's captured the imagination now of so many folks. When you see it, when you hear about it, when you think about it, how the Mossad was thinking ahead and figuring out that the pagers were being ordered and injecting into the pagers whatever explosives they were, and then figuring out how to trigger them and on and on and on. So it required a lot of layers here in order to be able to pull this off. But just from the Israeli U.S. standpoint, I think it also shows how Israel is replacing the United States inside the Middle East. Hezbollah and its patron Iran are not popular with most of the Middle East. Think the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Omanis, even a lot in Lebanon. And the concept that it's Israel now taking the lead, as you point out, in outing people, even the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon was hurt in this by his pager, and exposing them. It speaks volumes of Israel replacing the United States.
And just to point out, too, Israel hasn't said anything thus far or taken responsibility. But if it weren't at the hands of Israel, would Israel not come forward and say, hey, guys, wasn't us, to keep their people safe from retaliation? Or how does that work?
It's a great point. This is a way, if Israel was out celebrating, Iran would feel more necessity, and Hezbollah is embarrassed to retaliate. There is a strategic ambiguity. Israel doesn't say that it has nuclear weapons. Israel doesn't claim responsibility for a lot of attacks that it carries out. Everyone knows who's doing it. And that is to your point, to lessen the need for retaliation. Everyone's plenty embarrassed in Lebanon and frankly in Tehran as they need to be. Spiking the football has never really been Israel's mode. And I think it also sort of adds to the elegance and to the fear. If you take responsibility for everything, then people sort of wait for it. Whereas if you leave everything out there that maybe it was us, maybe it wasn't, these are our capabilities, maybe they aren't, people actually end up ascribing more power to you. So the Israelis are very good at it. And we have to say, if Hezbollah retaliates and starts firing missiles into the north, Hezbollah has 150,000 missiles. It can take apart Israel's infrastructure, and Israel wants to degrade Hezbollah without starting an all-out war.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.